Welcome back to StillPoint Logic podcast. This is episode 9. It's great to have you here again. Today, I want to talk about children and emotions. Try to look at how children understand the world and how the conclusions they draw shape how they feel. When we talk about kids, we usually focus on behavior. We label them emotional, sensitive, dramatic, anxious, or hyperactive. But before behavior appears, something else happens first. A child makes sense of an experience, and that sense becomes a rule. Children build rules. Children are meaning makers. Every day they watch, listen, and absorb. They notice how adults react to stress, to mistakes, and to disappointment, and they begin to form rules based on these observations. These rules don't form with a dramatic cue. They're formed in a mundane moment us adults barely notice. A child watches a parent sigh in frustration and thinks, I caused that. A teacher points at a mistake on a worksheet and a child concludes, mistakes are dangerous, they disappoint people. A friend doesn't wave back at recess and the child decides, I must have done something wrong because they are ignoring me. Nothing catastrophic has happened. There's not necessarily trauma or a crisis. It's basically just ordinary life. But children don't wait for catastrophe to interpret meaning. They build theories from the available evidence, and a theory conclusion can turn into a rule. If I make a mistake, something bad will happen. If someone is upset, it must be my fault. If I feel scared, I'm not strong enough. These rules don't come from logic textbooks, they come from their observation. And here's an uncomfortable question for all of us. What if the rules children learn from adults aren't always fair? Most adults carry their own unexamined rules, relics from childhood, work, the culture, family, and it's rules like don't burden anyone else. Stay productive. Smile if you're uncomfortable so no one worries. Don't bring up hard topics at dinner. Don't brag. People won't like you. Don't ask questions twice. They'll think you're needy. Don't say you're sad. It ruins the mood. Don't say you're proud. It sounds arrogant. Don't disagree with your boss. It never helps. We don't announce these rules to children. We just live them. And children, who are natural observers, learn by watching what we do far more than what we say. Without meaning to, we pass down the rules that don't always fit the child. Don't make a fuss can turn into don't ask for help. Be good can turn into be perfect. Don't argue can turn into don't disagree. A rule that made sense in one home can cause confusion in another. And more than that, these kinds of rules help when they make sense to us, but they hurt when we don't know why we're still obeying them. There was a Polish doctor and educator named Janusz Korczak who understood this deeply. Korczak believed that children are not adults in progress. They are full human beings right now. He believed children think seriously about life, about justice, about themselves, even when they don't have the words to explain it yet. And most importantly, he believed that children deserve moral respect. Not correction first, not control, respect. When a child feels overwhelmed, we always rush to fix the feeling. Don't cry. It's not a big deal. You'll be fine. But Korczak warned against this, because when we dismiss a child's inner world, we teach them something wrong, that their thoughts don't matter, that their feelings are inconvenient, and that their conclusions must be wrong because they're young and we are the adult and we know better. Instead, he believed we should listen, not necessarily to agree, but to understand. That idea, listening without rushing to correct, is what I want to practice today. So instead of keeping this theoretical, I wanted to explore it in a real way. My daughter is here with me. She's 9 years old. We're not going to teach a lesson. We're not going to fix anything. We're just going to talk. When a child tells you what they think, most of the time they are not being dramatic or naive. They are genuinely being honest. It's us, the adult, who tend to edit everything that we think. Children tend to reveal their rules in a raw form. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jake.
Hi, Jake. I'm going to ask you a set of questions and we can answer them.
Okay.
Do you think kids have big feelings?
I think they do.
What kind of feelings do you think kids have the most?
I think big feelings that kids have the most are embarrassment, sadness, and also like disappointment, like when someone's not listening to you.
Jake, do you think grown-ups always understand kids' feelings?
I don't think so because kids aren't as much like adults.
What do you mean?
I mean by like sometimes kids don't really know how to control themselves and adults know more how to control themselves. I'm not saying that they fully know, but they know more, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we keep going, there's something important I want to mention. Feelings don't usually appear out of nowhere. They probably follow a thought, even if we don't notice the thought first. Sometimes it's a very loud thought. Sometimes it's so quiet that we don't even notice it. But when a thought feels true, the feeling becomes strong. And for children, and honestly also for us adults, thoughts sometimes feel like they are facts. Can you think of a time recently when you had a really strong feeling?
When I had my spring concert and in front of the whole school, and and one of those feelings that I was experiencing, the really strong feeling, was like, I don't really know how to explain it, but scared.
What were you scared about?
I was scared if I was going to mess it up because I thought in my brain, if I'm going to mess it up, then I'm ruining it for my whole class in front of the whole school.
Okay. So remind me again, what was that feeling?
Scared.
You were scared. What were you thinking at that moment?
I was thinking, if I mess this up, what am I going to do? Because my class is going to be mad at me and it's going to be a disappointment, like I said. It's going to be a disappointment for my classmates and me.
Oh, so you were scared to disappointing everyone.
Yeah, because I didn't want to ruin it for everyone.
Do you remember what did your brain tell you at that time?
Yeah, I remember my brain telling me, if you mess this up, it's all your fault. And if it's all your fault, everyone's not going to like you.
And at that time, did that thought feel like something that was true?
At that time, yes.
Did that thought make your feeling feel even bigger?
Yes, way bigger.
Do you think that thought is always true?
It's not always true, definitely not.
Why not?
Because it's just my brain telling me at that time, because I know it isn't true. But since I'm so nervous, it makes me think it is true.
Can you think of a time when that message that your brain was telling you is not true? Something that you've experienced in life?
I've experienced that once I had a test, and that test was really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain was telling me, you can't do this. If you don't do this, then you're not good. And then at that time, I specifically just knew that that wasn't true. I'm good at many things. That was just a little hard for me. And it's a challenge. Nothing's wrong with a challenge.
That's very true. And let's say if your best friend was telling you the story that you told me today about how scared they felt before the spring concert, what would you say to them?
I would say it's just your mind tricking you. None of it's true. And I know you can do good because you practiced it for a very long time and worked really hard on it.
Would you be as hard on them as your brain was on you?
No, because they're also different people, and I'm, regulated with my brain, and my brain is regulated with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not afraid to say things like that to myself. But with other people, it's not as nice. It's a little disrespectful, and you should believe in them.
So what's a better way to look at it from a more fair point of view? Let's say next time you have another concert, and if your brain starts telling you things, what's a different way to look at it? A more compassionate way. Let's say your brain starts telling you, you can't do it. You'll embarrass everyone. What's a better way to look at it?
A better way of looking at it, thinking that it's something new. If you mess up, you keep on going. Like there's a saying that's saying, if you fall off your bike, you get back on and keep on pedaling and keep on pedaling.
That's a good way to put it. Adults run this sequence every day. We just hide it better. A coworker ignores an email and the thought is, I must have disappointed them. A project goes poorly and the brain concludes, I did something wrong. A friend cancels plans and suddenly the rule is, maybe I'm not important to them. The feeling may sound mature, anxiety, shame, anger, but the structure is identical. There's a thought, followed by a belief, followed by a rule and emotion. Children aren't learning a childish process, they're learning the human one. What we just did together was the 4 steps that I've been talking about from the beginning of the podcast, and is choose a moment that made you feel a strong feeling, find a thought, explore the rule, and think about a more gentle perspective. We didn't try to erase the feeling, we didn't say it was wrong, we just looked at the thought behind it. Because feelings are real, but not every thought deserves to be believed. Feelings is something that we can't argue with, and we know sometimes we don't want to feel like that, but we still do. Our thoughts are things that we can negotiate with, especially when the thought is a rule we never consciously chose. There is a really good story that captures this beautifully. It's Peter Pan, written by J.M. Barrie and later shown in the movie Hook. Peter grows up. He becomes serious, responsible, efficient, very successful by adult standards. But when he returns to Neverland, something strange happens. The rules he lived by, they stop working. Time doesn't behave the same, fear doesn't mean the same thing, imagination suddenly matters again. Peter realizes that many of the truths he lived by weren't facts at all. They were habits of thought he learned as an adult. Children, I think, live closer to Neverland, not because they are naive, but because their rules are still forming. And imagination isn't an escape from reality for children, it's a laboratory for alternative rules. A place where bravery can coexist with fear, where uncertainty can be explored in a safe space, and where failure doesn't necessarily bring shame. Adults call imagination fantasy. Children may call it fairness testing. So as I've mentioned before, I think children are constantly building rules about themselves and the world, and many of those rules come from the adults around them. When rules go unchallenged, they harden. They turn first into habits of thought, and then they become a part of our character and identity. I disappointed someone becomes I disappoint people, and that may become to I am a disappointment. Children are loyal to these rules because the rules feel protective, even when they hurt. And when those rules survive childhood, they become invisible in adulthood. We stop questioning them, and we just live by them. If no one helps them look at those rules, they can grow up believing things like, I must be perfect. I must never disappoint anyone. If I feel scared, I'm weak. But when we try to really listen to them and show them the other side of the coin, we show children that their thoughts can be explored, and it's not a weakness to do that, and that they don't need to be obeyed automatically. They can take another second, think about things, and choose something more fair. My bottom line is that I think if we show children reflection is not confusion, it will help them a lot. We're getting closer to the end of this episode, so just circling back to what I said at the beginning. What Korchak believed is that listening to a child's inner world wasn't indulgent. It was respectful. And what we practiced here today, taking a child's thinking seriously, is very much in that spirit. If you're curious about his writings, if this sparked some curiosity in you, I really recommend reading A Child's Right to Respect, or honestly anything that he wrote. This specific article you can find online, or I can email it to you. And I did ask Jake a few more questions that I want to share with you. But one last thing I want to share before that. Children don't need perfect rules. They need rules that are fair. Fairness is kind. And logic isn't about being cold. It's about being kind and clear at the same time. And for children, that combination can be very, very helpful. What do you think kids should know about feelings?
I think kids should know about feelings, that it's okay to experience different feelings. It's actually quite important so you learn how to deal with them later in life.
That's very true. And what would you tell another kid who feels stuck in their head?
I would tell them that just do your best. It's okay if we make mistakes, because that's how we learn from our mistakes, and then we can get better and better each time we do it.
And what would you tell them specifically about the things that their brain tells them?
I would tell that their brain's actually just trying to trick you to believe that you can't do it, because your brain sometimes tries to trick you. I know it sounds weird, but literally tries to trick you into things even though it's not true. It's just because you're really nervous at that time.
True. Is there anything else you want to share with us today?
That sometimes being a kid is a little hard, but you learn that it's actually good experience those things, because then you know how to deal with them next time.
Is there anything you want to say to the adults? Some things that maybe we should know and we don't?
The adults should listen more to kids, because if you say, like, this is just for pretend, if you say, like, don't touch the frying pan, you're going to get burnt, that's from your vision. But if you let them do what they want, they learn what they've done, and then later on they know not to do it, because they learn from their real lesson. And yes, sometimes you have to say no to this, sometimes you have to. But try not to say no as much, because then they can learn from their mistakes and then do better next time.
I agree. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for listening. The reflections in this podcast are inspired by logic-based therapy, a philosophical counseling model developed by Dr. Elliot D. Cohen. I'm a certified logic-based therapy consultant, and what I share here is my own perspective on its principles. This podcast is meant for reflection and learning and isn't a substitute for professional mental health. Take care, and I'll see you next time at your StillPoint.